Hi everyone! It's a bit early for a Halloween episode, but today I'm going to talk about something a little unsettling. It contains mature subject matter, so if you're under 13 you may want to watch one of my other videos. Puppets play a huge role in my life. I have many, I work with them, I watch everything I can find with a puppet. I know more information about the history of puppetry than I do about anything else. And my love of puppets doesn't just involve content for children, but adult content as well. Oftentimes, puppet characters in both children's and adult content can be very unsettling. From the unintentionally scary characters like Morso, Carbuncle, and Ratafak Plashta, to the intentionally scary characters such as the Crypt Keeper, the Gremlins, and Mr. Meaty. However, for me personally, I was never afraid of puppets no matter who it was. I loved Chucky and even have a vintage My Buddy doll that the character from Child's Play is based on. I loved Fats from Magic, Billy from Dead Silence, and have never had an issue with giant movie monsters featuring puppetry, including The Fly and The Thing. I thought I was immune to scary puppets. And I was. Until 2018. Possum is a 2018 British psychological horror film written and directed by comedy actor and writer Matthew James Holness in his directorial debut. But don't let the fact that he's a comedian get in the way. This film is by no means a comedy. Holness is a fan of the horror genre and enjoys the reflection and after effects that the audience experiences after viewing a horror film. Possum started as a short story written by Holness that was published in the anthology book The New Uncanny Tales of Unease in 2008. This article of works was inspired by the theories of the uncanny by Sigmund Freud. You may have heard of this before, and how things look just almost human enough, nearly familiar, but not quite. Some of people's greatest horrors are things that dwell within the uncanny valley. It wasn't until nearly a decade later that he decided to adapt the short story into a film. Inspired by a variety of sources including British PSAs of the 1970s, German Expressionism, the 1978 film Martin, and the 1945 film Dead of Night, Possum exudes a great deal of mystery, bleakness, and a sense of great dread that the viewer may never get over. The plot concerns a children's puppeteer named Philip returning to his childhood home in Norfolk where his uncle resides. Something terrible has happened that has forced him to return. He brings with him a puppet named Possum in a small duffel bag. He keeps trying to get rid of the puppet by burning it in the backyard, sinking it in water, and abandoning it in the woods. The house he returns to is damaged, seemingly by a fire, and has never properly been fixed. His bedroom contains a book about his puppet Possum, alongside images of black balloons and smoke. In the house, other than his cruel Uncle Morris, is a room that Philip refuses to go into. Meanwhile, a child has gone missing that Philip encountered when he was on the train on his way to Norfolk. This is not the first child to go missing there, but the first in a number of years. Of course, the suspect in the disappearance is someone fitting Philip's description. Philip goes to public spaces such as a park and a school and is seen as being greatly suspicious. The police are out to question him, but Morris tells Philip to stay as low-key as possible. Philip is obviously extremely mentally unwell, and has hallucinations of Possum chasing after him, mysteriously after his uncle gives him candy. He finally is brave enough to go to his elementary school and ask for a Mr. Grant, who is said to know about what had happened. However, the secretary decides to call the police, and Philip runs off. So, what did Mr. Grant know? We do soon find out as the film claws its way to a heartbreaking conclusion. I'm going to now spoil the rest of the film, so please click off if you would like to watch the movie first. Okay? Here we go. So, Philip's parents passed away in a fire when he was a child inside the room he refuses to go into. The black balloons he drew in his Possum book were what his parents' burned corpses looked like after the fire. After this trauma, he was forced to live in the same house now along with his uncle. During this time, he was repeatedly abused by a man wearing a mask. But as a viewer, we don't know if Philip is a bad person. A kidnapper? An abuser? A murderer? What did he do to lose his job as a puppeteer? It is suggested, and I would think as true, that Philip used Possum to entertain children, and told a traumatic story to the children, causing them to lose his job. This is why there are not more serious accusations being made against him, as he merely scared the children with a very scary puppet. Possum itself is a representation of Philip. Philip would just possum himself and not move when he was abused by the man in the mask. And throughout his childhood, as many boys disappeared from Norfolk, he wished he could save them and would frequent the areas they disappeared in. These feelings and events have manifested into a horrifying creature, one riddled with trauma and guilt that he just cannot get rid of. As the film progresses, Philip begins to resemble his puppet more and more, as Possum is a manifestation of everything he keeps inside. Horrifyingly enough, Possum's spider-like legs may be in reference to the fingers of the masked abuser, which is referenced in the film. The conclusion of the film has Philip finally confronting his fears and going into the room he is afraid of. There he finds a chest. Suddenly, a masked figure comes in and attacks Philip just like when he was a child. It's his uncle, who was the abuser all along. Morris begins to abuse Philip, who notices the chest moving, and in a moment of strength, breaks his uncle's neck. Then he unlocks the chest and the missing boy is inside. Philip is completely innocent, and he can now prove that he was not the bad guy, and the person who destroyed his life and so many others is now gone forever. The atmosphere of this movie is nothing like I've witnessed before. Bleak, claustrophobic, and deeply unsettling. Experimental electronic music studio The Radiophonic Workshop provided the soundtrack for the film, and it has left me feeling more anxious than any other viewing experience. Now, this movie completely horrified me. The subject matter and the humanoid spider puppet combined has made me feel more unnerved than any other film I've watched. In the short story, the puppet is said to be made of roadkill and dead animals, and is based on the writer and director's fear of spiders. Really, I don't think a more horrifying puppet has ever existed. I think a lot of my fear of this film has to do with my own current life and the parallels that it has with it. Not only is it about a children's puppeteer, which is my chosen career field, but about the inability to deal with horrific trauma and having it eat away at you. My own childhood, although not even close to being as horrific as Philip's, was a catalyst in my wanting to work with children and help them receive love and support they might not receive at home. Maybe that's why this movie made such a huge impact on my life. I know Philip wants to do good. He's just so traumatized that he can't do it. But out of every horror film I've ever watched, this one has left a lasting impact with me. Of course, reviews of it are mixed, but the underlying themes have a great impact if you see them there. This movie is excellent, but it might not be for everyone. I hope that it gains more appreciation as time goes on, and doesn't remain a piece of obscure puppet media. Well, this has not been a joyous video, but I thought I would end it by reciting the Possum poem from the film. Please let me know of any ideas you have for future videos, and I'll add them to my list. Mother, father, what's afoot? Only Possum, black as soot. Mother, father, where to tread? Far from Possum and his head. Here's a bag, now what's inside? Does he seek, or does he hide? Can you spy him, deep within? Little Possum, black as sin. Bag is open, growing wider. What's inside it, man or spider? Little boy, don't lose your way. Possum wants to come and play. Look at Possum, there he lies. Children meet his lifeless eyes. See his nasty legs and tongue? When he wakens, watch him run. Wait a while, my little child, for what is playing dead? Possum, with his black balloons, will eat you up in bed. Happy Valley, painted black, all the children in a sack. Wave goodbye to sun and moon. Say hello to black balloon. The parcel opened, out it sprang, the black long-legged Possum man. Children run! He'll eat and smother any child without a mother. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.